Tonight, Gold Trip wins the Melbourne Cup as emotions run high for the owners and jockey Mark Zara.
I mean, I still can't believe it. It's just Melbourne Cup, just unbelievable.
The coldest Melbourne Cup day in over a century, but that didn't stop the celebrations. A protester takes aim at the Flemington track. One bank moves quickly as official interest rates rise again. A teenage girl critically injured during a community celebrations in Altona. And seeing red, the fashion highlights and one of Melbourne's most stylish days.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. Gold Trip has stormed into racing history, winning Australia's greatest horse race on the coldest Melbourne Cup day in more than a century. Just 74,000 fans braved the conditions at Flemington, but the party's just getting started for the stallion's Aussie owners and jockey Mark Zara.
Before today, Gold Trip had won just once in his career. Win number 2 will go down in racing folklore.
150 metres to go, wondering about getting tired. Emissary has tried very, very hard, but Gold Trip is brave. 100 to go, a length and a half Emissary. Gold Trip is going to win the Lexus Melbourne Cup. Gold Trip wins it in a real staying contest for the ages.
A golden moment for jockey Mark Zara, his first Melbourne Cup.
Try put this feeling into words.
Oh, I can't. I just feel like crying. It's unbelievable.
A maiden win too for trainers David Eustace and Kieran Ma, the boy from Warrnambool cheering Gold Trip all the way down the home straight.
Fantastic effort by the whole team. It's unbelievable. It's a dream come true.
You're actually shaking inside.
Yeah, of course. You know, it's the pinnacle for our sport to do it with Kieran. Obviously so grateful to be training with him.
Even like the last 50, I was thinking, I'm going to win this here. No, but it just went forever the last bit, and I was, I mean, I still can't believe it. It's just Melbourne Cup, just unbelievable.
The first time in 3 years, large crowds were back on Cup Day.
Gates are open, thank you.
And it was back to tradition for racegoers. The fashion was bold, the skies were grey, and after a mild morning they opened, dumping rain and hail, sending racegoers running for cover. It was the coldest Melbourne Cup day since 1913. The downpours emptying the outdoor area of the birdcage. The ground more suited to gumboots than high heels, although platforms were a popular choice for keeping toes dry. Some went for comfort.
Ankle boots, no heels.
A poncho became the must-have accessory.
We're quite prepared for it.
The best tip of the day:
Stay dry.
some decided to ignore the forecast when planning their outfits, braving the cold.
We just bucketed it. Thought, oh well, may as well look nice.
Inside the marquees, it didn't matter what the weather was doing. The champagne was flowing. Swimming and singing star Cody Simpson was looking forward to performing the national anthem.
It's been a couple of years since I've sung in front of a crowd this large, so it's nice, yeah, it's an honour.
The rain cleared just in time for Australia's greatest race.
Gates are back and they're racing.
On the lawn there was a party atmosphere in between the rain showers. Those who loved the races say they weren't fazed by the forecast, even those who travelled from interstate.
The family's from Perth, and we thought he'd come over just for the beautiful sunshine and also enjoy the cup.
Today is one of those fantastic Melbourne days. Get up in the morning, it's beautiful. 20 minutes later, it's shite.
Light and shade for racegoers, a golden moment for Australia's newest racing champion. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Anti-racing vandals targeted Flemington, pouring hundreds of litres of toxic sludge on the track. Tegan Doling has the fallout in Tegan. The extreme act has sparked a police investigation.
Mike, around 1,000 litres of an oily sludge was poured onto the Flemington racetrack at around 6 o'clock this morning. And the police are working incredibly hard to try and work out who the man is behind the vandalism. He says he's a problem gambler, taking a stand against a toxic racing industry. Now, the sludge was poured onto a section of the track at around the 1,500 metre mark, with racing officials inspecting the area and working very quickly to fix it before declaring the course safe for racing. Now, one horse interpretation didn't get to finish the Melbourne Cup, but the vets have been able to clear all runners in the post-race inspections, which is very good news, Mike, considering 7 horses died in 8 years between 2013 and 2020. Mike.
Tegan Doling at Flemington, thank you. The roar of the crowd returned to Flemington for the first Cup Day without COVID restrictions since 2019. But overall numbers were well down, with today's crowd the lowest in decades.
Full stands for the first time in 3 years, and racegoers were ready for a party.
We're hoping that we can win in the Melbourne Cup, and down the outside here comes Montefilia, 200 metres to go.
On a day of rain, hail and shine, nothing was going to dull the sparkle of these ladies.
I don't think there's much that'll be ruffling your feathers today.
No, maybe some boys.
Footpaths were turned into catwalks, bright and bold, dominating the public areas.
Just thought red and yellow, white, what could go wrong?
Block suits for the win.
How did it come about?
Well, I've got a lime green ute, FG ute.
Many of them locals, just as many travelled from far and wide to be there.
I've come down from Port Douglas, so a long way from home.
Carramborough, South Gippsland. We've always wanted to come to the pub.
We've never been here before, so just an eye-opener.
We got married last weekend and this is our honeymoon.
It's a pretty romantic way to spend your honeymoon.
Yeah.
While champagne is traditionally the drink of choice at the Cup, others went for stackable options.
Are you stocked up for later? Is that what's going on here?
Pretty much, yeah. We're going to get some food. The line's probably going to take about half an hour.
As thousands poured through the gates, some found the weather all too much, calling it quits hours before the race was even called.
No, we're done.
Head to a bar, somewhere warm.
Where are you going?
Home.
Why?
No, we're going to the pub because it's cold.
Well, there was plenty being splashed out on betting.
Well, the biggest bet I've seen on course is 20,000 on Montefilia.
And some who struck it lucky.
He was coming last the whole way and he just won. That's brilliant. Look at the Irish. Woo!
Bookies were feeling the effect of online gaming platforms.
The cash isn't there like there has been years gone by.
It's not just Australians who love the Melbourne Cup. This moment is being broadcast around the world to 160 countries and watched by more than 70 million people.
Away from the track, a police crackdown on the roads. This week alone, they've caught more than 300 drunk or drugged drivers.
The type of offending that we've detected is the type of offending that is contributing to road trauma.
And they'll be out in force again tonight as the city swarms with soggy, wobbly racegoers finding their way home after a big day trackside. Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Fashion's made a triumphant return trackside at Flemington as bold colours brightened a dreary Melbourne day. And leading this year's style pack in the birdcage, celebrities Delta Goodrem and Beck Judd in daring designs.
Only the brightest frocks can steal attention away from the track on Cup Day. Cup style is flamboyant, it's vibrant and it's playful despite the rain.
We brought jackets today. Derby Day we did not, which was a big mistake.
Stars sheltering from the elements in the luxury birdcage, showing more flair and more skin. All colours were on show but red dominated. Beck Judd sizzling in this mini number. Delta Goodrem stunned in floral Dolce & Gabbana, while Cup ambassador Christian Wilkins in head-to-toe green Gucci and a sparkling tiara. But there's always a nod to classic racewear. Cup Day requires stamina, with celebrity stylists transforming racegoers from the crack of dawn. Fashion was relegated to our front lawns during COVID, but today it was back where it should be. Just in time to mark 60 years of Maya fashions on the field, these millinery creations stole the show.
Lots of feathers. We love a lot of colour.
With outfits to match.
A lot of really bright block colours and textural fabrics. It's beautiful.
The parade has been overhauled this year with all new gender-inclusive categories, including Best Dressed and Best Suited.
Now all-inclusive, anyone can participate, and I think that's really fun.
Today's finalists will compete in the grand final on Oaks Day. Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
The coldest cup day since 1913 kept most Melburnians indoors today, but there was still a big cash splash, providing a major boost to the city's economy.
A champagne breakfast to start Cup Day. Many regular racegoers abandoned Flemington because of the weather. But it didn't stop spending. The average Australian splashes $179 on Melbourne Cup Day, $88 of that on betting, the rest on entertainment, fashion and dining. As the hail set in, the Commons Collective moved their garden party indoors.
There's no dampening of the spirits today.
I did have an outfit change this morning. The dress was more summery, and so it was a quick, can't wear that today.
The banks of the Yarra are usually one of the most popular locations for a Cup Day barbecue. Today, the tradition was thrown out the window, the wet weather keeping crowds away.
Punters spent up big.
Think of a number in your head, whatever comes out, put that on.
We just bet on the horses with the best names.
For some, the gamble paid off.
Winner!
And public holiday pay rates meant bars and pubs were equipped with the staff to handle the crowds.
This whole week is huge, from Derby Day to Melbourne Cup to Oaks Day to Stakes Day. It's just crazy. It's been such a busy week for us all.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
The Reserve Bank has lifted interest rates by another 0.25% as it tries to rein in inflation. Home loan borrowers are being hit with higher repayments as banks move quickly.
Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe and Deputy Michelle Bullock in Hobart for their Cup Day meeting, short price favourites to raise rates, and they did.
This is another difficult day for Australians who are already under the pump.
A record 7th consecutive increase since May, another 25 basis points to 2.85%, the highest in 9 years, adding $78 a month to repayments on a $500,000 loan, $116 on $750,000, and on $1 million, $155 a month. A total monthly increase of between $765 and $1,529 since May, putting many into mortgage stress and more to come.
There is a fixed rate mortgage time bomb about to explode.
$150 billion in fixed loans set to expire in the next year, those borrowers facing repayment increases of up to 45%.
That could prompt more people to sell.
And they'd be selling in a down market. CoreLogic's Home Value Index showing prices falling another 1.2% in October.
Since the peak of the market, we've seen house values down around 7% and unit values only down about 4%.
The upside, those without mortgages living on savings and term deposits should get more in interest. The Reserve Bank's aim is to tame the inflation dragon. It's not working. Governor Philip Lowe today predicted inflation to peak even higher than expected in December at 8%.
Inflation is the number one challenge in our economy.
The Labor government has put up the white flag when it comes to interest rates and inflation.
The RBA is signalling more rate rises to come.
We still think there's probably going to be another small rate hike in December of 0.25%, and then the RBA might sit on its hands for a while.
NAB, the first of the banks to move, passing on the full 0.25% increase. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Network Finance editor Gemma Acton joins us now. And Gemma, you have the latest from the banks.
Good evening, Michael. As we just heard, the NAB was the first out of the gates, as expected, passing on the full 0.25% to borrowers. There's still no word on what it plans to do for savers this time around, if indeed anything, and there is still radio silence from the other major banks. Last month, all 4 banks announced their rate hike decision that same day, so there is still time this evening, and certainly the strong expectation, unfortunately, is that all 4 banks will end up passing on the full 0.25% hike to borrowers sooner or later, just as they have done with every other rate hike so far this year. Mike.
Gemma, thank you. A teenager has suffered critical injuries after falling from the roof of a car at Altona Beach. Cameron Bowe is at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, and Cam, you've got breaking news on arrests.
Mike, police had been tracking the suspects since they fled the scene late last night. This afternoon, a 21-year-old man from Braybrook was arrested in Altona. A 21-year-old man from Caroline Springs handed himself into police, as did a 20-year-old man from Sunshine North. Now, detectives have also recovered the car allegedly involved in that incident. Samoa's win over France at the Rugby League World Cup was a popular result. It prompted a street party in Altona. The 17-year-old girl was among hundreds of people who took part. She suffered serious head injuries when she fell from the roof of that car there. The driver of that car and the passengers on board fled the scene. Now, police are still trying to sort out who's who amongst the people in custody. No charges have been laid. The 17-year-old girl remains in the Royal Melbourne Hospital here in a serious condition, Mike.
Cam, thanks to you. Tim Watson is here with a look ahead to sport, and Tim, the party is only just getting started after Gold Trip's win.
It is, Mike. There's some very happy people out there. We'll cross to the winning celebrations soon to catch up with the horses' connections. Also, Aaron Finch's international career hangs in the balance. Hear from the Aussie skipper after injury ended his night, and the NBA superheroes emerged for Halloween with an Aussie taking centre stage. I'll see you again soon, Mike.
OK, see you soon. Thanks, Tim. A massive $900 million flood relief package has been announced. Up next, how businesses, charities and farmers can get their share of the cash. Also, an arrest over a bizarre attack on a hotel in Melbourne's southeast. The driver caught in Western Ring Road madness. How to save on Christmas favourites in a new supermarket price war.
And it remains chilly for a few more days, but there's warmth and sunshine on the horizon. I'll have more later in 7 News.
A driver has slammed his ute into the front of a hotel in Melbourne's southeast before allegedly assaulting a woman and her male companion. It happened around 2:30 this morning. The 35-year-old driver from Leichhardt near Bendigo was arrested at the scene. The woman from the same town suffered minor injuries, as did the male victim from New South Wales. Victorians have been hearing about election promises for months, but officially the campaign begins tonight. But just before the state government slipped into caretaker mode, it announced an $800 million flood relief package.
Watching one race as another began. The Governor-General formally signed the writs today, ending the 59th state government and officially starting the election campaign.
Always nice to see you. Thanks.
But before switching to caretaker mode, an $877 million flood package was signed off with the federal government.
We've been working really hard with the Commonwealth to ensure that this package rolls out quickly.
It includes grants of $50,000 for small businesses and not-for-profits, $200,000 for medium to large businesses, $5,000 payments for sports clubs, and a $125 million state government package will offer $600 water bill rebates. And there's a plan to support flood victims in caretaker mode.
There's measures to ensure that we can include others and make support available where required.
Liberal leader Matthew Guy was in Cheltenham, promising $100 million in solar panels and batteries for community groups.
Scout halls to be accessing solar. We want them to get onto batteries. We want to do the same with suburban and country footy clubs.
They're also promising to bring down power prices without bringing back the SEC.
Not plans for 1985 to return. I mean, this guy's going to roll up in a VB Commodore to his next press conference because he thinks it's the early 1980s. It's not. It's about the future
The Greens are urging undecided Victorians to turn to them on November 26. They're estimating 30% of votes could go against the major two parties.
With the Liberal vote collapsing in Victoria, it is more important than ever that we elect MPs to the next Victorian Parliament that can hold the next government to account.
Chanel Bella, 7 News.
9 people have been arrested over a bridge collapse in India that killed 134 people. Security video captured the moments leading up to the collapse, with people seen rocking the bridge from side to side before the cables gave way. The bridge had just reopened after repairs but had not been deemed fit for public use. Ticketing staff and contractors are among those arrested. Residents in Kyiv are without power and water after another round of Russian airstrikes. Moscow is accused of wanting Ukrainians to freeze during the European winter and forcing up the price of food around the world.
The morning pummelling of Kyiv. These are some of the Russian missiles and drones that made it through Ukraine's air defences. Exploding on impact, taking out water and electricity supplies to 80% of the capital. Hundreds of thousands of homes, families bracing for a cold night. The forecast low, -1, forcing many to line up for basic supplies. Not having water is the least of my problems, 19-year-old Alexei says. People are dying. The Kremlin showed video of missile launches, claiming all designated targets were hit. Kyiv's mayor accusing Russia of genocide.
I have a feeling the Russian aggressors want to freezing people in this winter.
And after Moscow pulled out of a UN-brokered deal to secure grain exports from Ukraine, it says the security of ships in the Black Sea can no longer be guaranteed. Ukraine is usually one of the world's leading grain suppliers. European nations are now exploring ways of avoiding the sea route altogether, potentially transporting grain over land as fears grow about the impact on global supply chains. Further pushing up supermarket prices around the world. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
A car has been driven along the Western Ring Road on its rims. Sparks were flying from the bottom of the sedan at Tullamarine yesterday afternoon. Another witness reported seeing the same vehicle on the Princes Freeway near Laverton Road. Olympic legend Neil Brooks has finally returned home as an accused fraudster. Next on 7 News, he opens up for the first time in over a decade, desperate to clear his name. Also, the shock failures that led to Korea's deadly crowd crush. The simple test helping diagnose children with diabetes. And Taylor Swift makes music history.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
Former Olympic swimmer Neil Brooks will face court tomorrow over a $2 million fraud case. After arriving in Australia from Bali, he spoke exclusively to 7 News.
The gold medal swimmer branded a freestyling fraudster, Neil Brooks.
Neil, how are you?
Now back in Australia to face the fight of his life.
There's never a question of us not coming here to fight it, because we've got so much to fight with and we've got so much to fight for. I'm not going to run away from this.
Since that famous race in 1980's Olympics,
Neil Brooks in front of Coppercop. He's won by 4 Australia.
Brooks has constantly found himself in life's deep end. Alcohol, drugs, failed businesses. But this time he says he is the victim in a failed $2 million deal back in 2008. It's his first major TV interview in over a decade, desperate to tell his side of the story.
Totally, and never had my say. To this day, I've never been interviewed by police.
Brooks is charged with making dishonest representations to business partner Glenn Melchek.
We've got boxes and boxes of emails and of evidence that categorically proved there was no fraud from us.
And he's revealed he has bombshell new evidence. Allegations he was jumped and bashed after the company collapsed, his nose broken, clothes splashed with blood.
They said that we're going to cut you up into little pieces, you, your family.
Brooks fled the country, saying he was afraid for his family's safety, especially his new son.
Yeah, he's a rock.
Brooks believes his lawyers will have more than enough evidence to potentially get the charges thrown out when the committal begins here tomorrow. But even if the case does go to trial, he says he's absolutely confident of a victory greater than any he achieved at the Olympics. The committal will run tomorrow and Thursday. Chris Reason, 7 News.
An at-home finger prick test is helping identify children with type 1 diabetes. It's hoped it will keep our youngest Victorians out of hospital for a condition that's treatable but often misdiagnosed.
A simple prick that could change a life.
I think it's great because it just saves people having a traumatic diagnosis like myself.
Lila McCauley almost died due to a missed type 1 diabetes diagnosis.
She was misdiagnosed, she was in diabetic ketoacidosis, and so she was in ICU, and the whole experience was so traumatic. We'd gone to the doctor numerous times to check. She had all the symptoms, but we didn't know it.
Australian researchers are looking for ways to prevent that from happening through a home blood test kit. More than 17,000 children have so far signed up.
We can find out who is at risk of this problem, and we can follow them and look after them so that they don't get sick.
It's a sigh of relief for the McCauleys.
To have a test that's so easy at home with 3 boys, to be able to then send it away and have the results within weeks, it's just a really amazing thing for our family to have.
For now, only children with family history of type 1 diabetes can enrol in the program, with researchers hoping to one day be able to screen every child in Australia.
The vast majority of people who get diagnosed do not have an immediate family member who has type 1 diabetes.
It's just better to know before it gets too late.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
South Korea's police chief has admitted the emergency response to Saturday night's Halloween crush was inadequate. He's revealed a number of calls were made to police about problems with crowd control before the deadly surge. The death toll has now risen to 155. Among the dead, 26 foreigners, including 23-year-old Australian woman Grace Rached. The country's president today visited a makeshift memorial for the victims. The bill to restore Old Parliament House after anti-vax protesters set fire to its entrance late last year has now hit $5.3 million. All 3 levels of the building sustained some damage, mainly from smoke, soot and the water used to extinguish the blaze. Now known as the Museum of Democracy, most of the building has reopened to the public, but some areas remain closed for ongoing work. In the fight for your money, smaller lenders are promising big savings on home loans, taking on the big banks at their own game. But as interest rates continue their climb tonight, it's still a case of borrower beware.
Bridget Saker set up Granite Home Loans in 2018 for customers falling short of strict home loan criteria.
We really distinguish ourselves by serving borrowers that the banks, major banks and traditional lenders didn't serve.
Smaller lenders are often overlooked, but keen to compete. Before today's hike, 4 offered variable rates under 4%. Bank Australia, Hume, Bank First and Northern Inland Credit Union. Movebank is close behind.
Non-banks have been around for over 30 years now, and they came into place to challenge the banks to make sure that they did offer competitive rates.
Westpac has the lowest variable rate among the big 4, but after 2 years jumps to the priciest. All offer $2,000 cashback to refinance, except ANZ, which is double that. But check the fine print. Smaller lenders can take their time in passing on rate rises. Granite is still deciding what to do about last month's RBA hike.
You don't want to have to go through that process of refinancing only to find that your rate's going up a lot higher than you might expect.
Many smaller lenders don't have physical branches, so check the quality of their online and phone service before you commit. Read some reviews and give them a call to see how responsive and helpful they are.
Don't just gloss over banks that you've never heard of. It's worth spending 5 minutes digging into their background.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
Taylor Swift has made music history, becoming the first artist to take all top 10 spots in the Billboard Hot 100 chart. All the songs are from her new album, Midnight. The #1 song was Antihero. Receiving eye-watering paychecks. Next on 7 News, from Australia Post to the NBN, the bosses taking home over $1 million. Also, how the share market reacted to today's interest rate rise. The pre-Christmas price cut, where you can find savings on festive favourites. That's later. And the surprising link between coffee and height. A man has died after crashing his car into a pole in Melbourne's north. The driver lost control on Settlement Road in Bundoora, crushing his car on impact and bringing down power lines. He died at the scene. No one else was injured. The local share market has been buoyed by today's Reserve Bank announcement. Finance editor Gemma Acton has the details.
Thanks, Mike. After a soggy start, local shares galloped home with the ASX 200 closing up 113 points at 6,977. Today's Reserve Bank decision gave the market an afternoon boost, with all sectors except telecoms finishing in the green. The Aussie dollar caught the ebullient mood, ticking up to 64.3 US cents, while the World Gold Council's report on demand for the precious metal has given it a small bump. And after falling sharply last year, the number of forced home sales is slowly creeping higher. Analysts at SQM Research say that's largely due to the expiry of COVID hardship packages and moratoriums on defaults. Mike.
Thanks, Gemma. More than 20 leading executives of government-owned corporations are taking home over $1 million a year. It includes the bosses of the NBN, Australia Post and Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe.
It's the rolled gold, taxpayer-funded payday like no other.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, mate.
No fewer than 24 government-funded positions, complete with multi-million-dollar packages for top executives, all earning seven figures.
It is too much.
The highest paid, Stephen Rue, boss of NBN Co, took home just under $3 million. Not far behind him, head of Snowy Hydro, Paul Broad.
Gosh.
Australia Post CEO Paul Graham was paid $2.1 million, $1.3 for the boss of Western Sydney Airport, Simon Hickey. Rounding out Millionaires Row, the Chief Justice of the Federal Court, James Allsop, the Governor of the Reserve Bank, Philip Lowe, and ABC Chief David Anderson, each pocketing just over $1 million.
I think it's a little bit too much for what they do.
The Remuneration Tribunal is the independent body responsible for setting these eye-watering figures. It today told 7 News that it has to attract and retain high-quality candidates.
The tribunal considers a range of data, including the duties undertaken by the office, its scope, responsibilities, accountabilities and relativities compared to other public offices.
I'm not quite sure. I know they're making the decisions, but I'm not quite sure why they're earning that much.
Evan Batten, 7 News.
Pregnant women are being warned drinking coffee could lead to shorter children. New research shows even half a cup of coffee or 1 cup of black tea per day can lead to a height difference of 1.5 centimetres. The UK's National Institute of Child Health says the shorter statute lasts to at least the age of 8, but more research is needed to see if it persists into adulthood. I always knew I should have been 6'6". Tim Watson returns with sport, and Tim, the boy from Warrnambool, will be partying big tonight.
I think he will. His mum will be too. It was a historic win for trainer Kieran Maher. Up next, we'll head back to Party Central as connections of Gold Trip toast their Melbourne Cup success. The Aussies hamstrung, Aaron Finch sweating on scans, and he's not the only one with his World Cup campaign in doubt. And a familiar face emerges as a new king in the NBA as the Stars come out for Halloween. Welcome back. Warrnambool-based trainers Kieran Maher and Dave Eustace can finally call themselves Melbourne Cup winners after saluting in the great race with Gold Trip. It was redemption too for jockey Mark Zahra, who missed the winning ride last year because of suspension.
Back in front of a packed house at Flemington, a field of 22 following the late scratching of Luna Flare set out to catch overwhelming favourite Dowville Legend.
Gates are back and they're racing. They're off in the cup.
Rain in the lead-up saw the track downgraded to a soft 7. Gold Trip hit the front with 300 to go and didn't look back.
100 to go, a length and a half emissary. Gold Trip is going to win the Lexus Melbourne Cup. Gold Trip wins it in a real staying contest for the ages.
After running 9th in the Cox Plate and 2nd in the Caulfield Cup, Gold Trip recorded just his 2nd career win. Sweet redemption for jockey Mark Zahra.
Even like the last 50, I was thinking,
going to win this here.
His first Melbourne Cup victory comes 1 year after suspension saw him lose his ride on last year's winner, Very Elegant.
I was probably drinking my way out of it, and Elise was saying, don't drink too much. And I was saying, well, what else do you want me to do? My horse just won the Melbourne Cup. It hasn't slipped my mind. I think about it all the time.
Trainers Kieran Maher and Dave Eustace also got their first taste of Melbourne Cup success. Gold Trip was paying punters $18.40 for the win. Geelong Cup winner Emissary ran second. High Emotion came from last in the field to earn a place. Next year's competition already lining up.
The favourites going to salute, and the big crowd love it. White Marlin won at 5 lengths.
Trainer Gay Waterhouse already has the 2023 Melbourne Cup in her sights.
He's the real deal, and I hope we'll see him here this time next year.
But as Zara knows best, 12 months is a long time in racing. Natalie Anides, 7 News.
The party is just getting started for the Connections. Andrew McCormack is in the thick of the action in South Yarra. And Andrew, the celebrations are set to go well into the night.
Well, Tim, his timing was impeccable today at Flemington. He's literally just rocked up. He's the man of the moment. Kieran Maher, of course, with his partner Dave Eustace, taking out his first Melbourne Cup. How do you feel?
I feel sensational. Super day, just really proud of the team, and it's a lot goes into getting a horse ready for the Melbourne Cup. To get one horse ready, let alone 5, and I'm just super proud and thrilled. Really, it's a race that stops the nation, and to win it's a race you dream about. Being a trainer, like I've been in the industry since I was about 15, and to get the win is absolutely amazing.
Not bad from a overweight jump jockey from Warrnambool.
Yeah, exactly right. It's all part of it. It was all learning, and I didn't come from a racing family, but I come from a family. We had a dairy farm, and it was all about the animals, and not much has changed. It's still all about that, and thrilled.
And just last one, the party tonight. You'll be leading the way?
Yeah, I will be. Yeah, I'll be moving around the dance floor, I'd imagine. We'll have a few frothies, and I can't wait. Nothing better.
Enjoy. I'll let you get to it. There you go, the winner of the Melbourne Cup, trainer Kieran Maher. Tim.
Thanks, Mac. It sounds like a great night. Racing's latest innovation took centre stage in Sydney today. A new Group 1 1,600-metre race called the Big Dance.
Rustic Steel a half to Cisco Bay. Rustic Steel's clinging on. Rustic Steel wins the Big Dance just.
Trainer Chris Lee saluting with Nasharilla on board to take a share of the $2 million in prize money to cricket now. And Aaron Finch is remaining upbeat despite his international career hanging by a thread after suffering a hamstring injury in the win over Ireland. The Aussies have one game left in the T20 World Cup to have any hope of progressing into the semi-finals.
Our international T20 captain on domestic duties, Aaron Finch, showing little signs of a leg strain that forced him from the field last night.
Hey mate, how's the hamstring?
Yeah, not bad. See you later. Scan results tomorrow, but the world champs have a world-class trump card on standby.
I'm open to batting anywhere. I've batted pretty much in every position from... I don't think I've opened in T20 internationals, but I did it a couple of times in the IPL and did it pretty well.
The former captain called into action last night as the bench was cleared. Stoinis and Tim David also under a cloud, but not before helping Australia set the Irish 180 to win.
Stoinis on a rampage.
But it was Finch who added the most.
That's gone straight down the ground. Add to the sixes.
Easy to see how he twinged his hammy off just 44 balls, a 63 of pure brutality.
Punished, dispatched into the stands, and that's 50.
The total could have been more. In front of a squad of super troopers, Barry McCarthy turned up for Halloween as Superman.
Unbelievable fielding. That was hang time in the air. Appreciation all around the ground.
Desperate to improve their net run rate, Mitchell Stark turned the match in and over.
Got him! And again, rinse and repeat.
Australia second on the ladder, now face Afghanistan and Adelaide Friday, who remain winless, just beaten by Sri Lanka.
You've seen Faruqi up top swinging the ball both ways, left armour at good pace. Obviously Rashid Khan's probably the best T20 spinner in the world.
Ben Davis, 7 News.
In the NBA, a knee injury kept Ben Simmons sidelined in the Nets win over the Pacers. Star players around the league pulled out some fancy dress for Halloween as Aussie Matthew Dellavedova made a stylish return to the NBA in Sacramento's 7-point win over Charlotte.
Murray, one more. Dellavedova, the go-ahead bucket. It's Delhi time.
Back home, Delhi's former team, Melbourne United, moved into the top 6 after their biggest win of the season, defeating Perth 94-77. Good to see Delhi back over there. He's a great role player.
He's a great man, Delhi, isn't he? Thank you, Tim.
Super competitive.
Supermarket chains are already in a Christmas price war. Coles and Woolies are both promising to make festive feasts cheaper for the rest of the year.
The fresh food people dropping prices for the people, cutting the cost of a number of Christmas favourites all the way past the day that Santa arrives.
Our customers are telling us that they're feeling the pressure on their household budget, so we want to make sure that all our customers can find value at Woolworths.
After bank UBS last month found food inflation has hit 8%. Coles yesterday announced savings for its Flybuys members. Woolies now launching its own offensive.
A bad idea, especially at Christmas time. Everything costs a lot of money. I think it's marvellous.
Among the savings, leg ham at $8.50 a kilo, rock lobster $27 a kilo, tiger prawns at $25, turkey at $7, and for dessert, pavlova base at $5.40 and the filling for just over $1. 150 products costing the same or less than last Christmas.
These types of campaigns are all about ensuring that they get repeat visitation, repeat purchase, and continue to grow.
Woolies says its festive season discounts will run through until December 27, but the price cuts won't end there, with more savings to help customers tackle the rising cost of living planned for the new year.
In January, it very quickly becomes about back to school.
Spirits high when savings are on offer. Liam Tapper, 7 News.
Jane Bunn is next with the forecast. Jane, you gave us plenty of warning about today. Is there any warm weather on the way?
Mike, there are a few more chilly days, but then it finally warms up. I'll have news on temperatures up in the 20s next.
What's the best move? Now, when it comes to property, the predictions for the spring selling season. 7 News with Peter Mitchell at 6.
Hello again. What a wintry afternoon in Melbourne. The day began quite nice with sunny breaks out there, but then the sky darkened and it had a big impact on our temperature. 13 was the peak, but it plunged to just 8 degrees in the city at 1 p.m. That's as wintry hail fell, tiny balls of ice that bounce when they hit the ground. When that's happening, you know it's cold enough to snow up in the Alps. A blanket of white up high, even flurries outside of Ballarat. This is all on the 1st of November. Out of season, yes, but not unheard of. It has snowed on Christmas Day before. Here are the showers passing through. Cold when they're overhead, then temperatures recover as the sun returns and repeat. Now these showers do continue to pass through tonight with more wintry hail, and the temperature is cold while the wind chill is bitter. Today is not your typical November weather. We averaged 60 millimetres of rain. Today was 9 degrees below average. The showers are sweeping across Victoria with snow on the ranges and wintry hail below. Maxims were as much as 14 degrees below average. The warmest spot was Sale with 17. It's significantly colder than that out there now. A strong cold front is passing through the eastern states. We're affected by the one in behind it today. The lines show the air is coming straight up from Antarctica, and there is yet another cold front on its way later tomorrow. So the cold, wet and windy continues. Sheep remain at risk of losses tomorrow and on Thursday. Only central and eastern parts of the state remain on flood watch. The rain isn't excessive, but the catchments don't need much. Now, this is what it looked like this afternoon. The next front means the chill continues for a few more days, but not forever. There is a stretch of warmth and sunshine on the horizon, and it begins this weekend, continuing into next week. We've certainly earned it. Around the nation tomorrow, sunshine for Brisbane and Sydney. A few millimetres of showers in Adelaide, dry in Perth. To Victoria, widespread showers on and south of the ranges. Wintry hail, snow down to 700 metres at first. Now, all of that gradually eases during the day. But we're not done. The next burst hits the coast at night. Closer in, the wintry showers do continue in the morning, then it eases for the afternoon. Expect long dry breaks, but the wet weather does increase again after dark, mainly through eastern suburbs. The city has showers mainly in the morning and again later at night. There is still the chance of an afternoon shower, but it looks mostly dry then. It's certainly still chilly though, a top of 14. Now Thursday is not much better, it's 15. Showers mainly in the morning, then it is all over by the end of Oaks Day and we go into a dry stretch. Still a bit of cloud on Friday and into Saturday. But have a look at these numbers. Top temperatures 22, 24, 25, 27, 28 degrees. There's a lovely stretch on the way. But tomorrow, 14. That's the top. Showers are mainly in the morning, but then they do redevelop again at night, Mike.
I prefer to think about the 28. Thanks,
Indeed.
Jane. And that's 7 News for this Melbourne Cup day. For now, from the 7 News team, have a great night.